today I continue my fixation with Game Fix. Yes, I'm now up to issue 7 from May 1995. This is Game Fix Wargame Magazine, the forum of ideas, with a complete game included, as it says at the top of the cover. And the game that is included here is Bill Banks and Paul Cooper's The Big One, The War in Europe, 1939 to 1945. So kind of interested to see what this looks like, given, you've got something that is purporting to cover the, World War II in a relatively small package. Game Fix, I'll put a magazine, is a war game magazine that was published in the mid-90s. I don't know how many issues they ended up with, but I've collected several of them over the last several months, I should say. And as I said, I'll put a link to all of them in the description down below if you want to catch up on what this is all about. But let's get inside the bag and see what this is all about. There is each issue, at least each issue that I picked up, had a war game inside, had a complete game. This is kind of the standard format of some other war game magazines. There's going to be articles. Now, most of these articles are about other war games. But there's also, some history in here as well, and again, a complete game. So let's open up the cover and see what we have here. Let's go in a little bit closer so you can see all the goodness of the magazine. All right, so we have some of the regular features in here, from the podium, the fixture in, battle briefs, the Second World War in Europe, chronology, and this is kind of an article that supports the game. That's kind of a typical format or similar format to some of the other war game magazines. Then you have the game, so this will be the rules. You have a guest editorial, industry news, armchair gamer, and behind the lines with behind the lines Richard Berg. This is by Timothy Kuda, and I wonder what that's about, the late great Richard Berg. There you have that. So this is, here, I can subscribe. $4.15 is not bad. So 1 year was 12 issues. I don't know. I think they kind of went over more than 1 year, their issues. So I don't know if they kept up with that. Here's from the podium. Some articles here. Some short little comments or columns. The fixture in. These look like they might be like letters to the editor there. Battle briefs. The World's Worst Terrorist, Panzerfaust 3, and the Cheyenne Cavalry Charge. So a little bit of history there. Then we have the Second War in Europe. This is the chronology. So this is kind of interesting, starting in 1939. I like timelines. I've covered some other time-type books or timeline-type books, and talked about them from time to time in my content on games. So I like this. I like these kinds of stuff. I might actually do just a series on some timeline books at some point. Maybe a coffee with Kilroy. So then we go up to May 11th of 1945. Then we have the rules. This is the game, the big one, and in similar fashion to the other Game Fix games I've seen, you have the rules in like 2/3 of the page, and then you have 1/3 of the page or so with the units and examples and images or clarifications or maybe some tables. Kind of an interesting setup there. But the rules, and then you have some further detail, I guess. Here's the brief sequence of play. So you got strategic warfare, production, Axis player turn, allied player turn, armored action, supply, and end of turn adjustments. Some examples of the units. It's interesting because they used to be all color, these insets, and there's a couple issues where they're not, but then they turned to color over here. So I don't know what happened there. But we got a little bit of grayscale going over here, and then we have color over here. So, and then we got some more. Here's your convoy attack example, more rules. And like with a lot of war games, or magazine games, I should say, a lot of your charts are in the book itself. So here's your turn record track. So you're going to need to, it says photocopy before play. So you're going to need to pull this out and use your combat chart, your terrain effects chart as well. You'll get it all on the page there. And there's your map. So there is that is the big one, and it's on a little map. So basically just 2 pages of a regular magazine page. But got a little bit of North Africa, a little bit of Middle East, and then Europe here. Interesting. Not a bad looking map. Not a lot of counters either. I mean, this is your full counter set. These are kind of typical of what you would see from a lot of games in the 90s, but especially magazine games. So you got your axis and neutrals. And interesting here. So not a ton of counters on here. And they're double-sided. Look at those there. And then there's the map. Very interesting. Okay. Detailed sequence of play. And this one doesn't do, this is just a full page, because this is kind of a player aid that you're going to want to copy. Then we're back to the rules, and with the inset explanations, or the side editorial. More rules. Here's a land combat example. Amphibious landing, amphibious assault, and transit attack over here. And this might be the end of it here. Here's victory, and then you have game setup. There you have it. So that's your rules, or the big one. Then we have a guest editorial, military reality and wargaming. That might be an interesting read. Then we have industry news. I have that game. We're talking about Command Magazine, Moves Magazine, and the Canadian Wargame Journal, and then I don't know if they're talking about, the Barbarians. I don't know if they're talking about just this game or talking about 3W in general, but that's an interesting game. The Armchair Gamer, talking about On to Moscow. That's Joe Miranda's On to Moscow. Got some other stuff. Oh, this is all in that same article. So this is kind of somewhat of a, I don't know if it's an interview with Joe Miranda, because it looks like there's some design commentary in here. Here's Behind the Lines, an interview with Richard Berg. So there we go. There's Richard Berg at the 1776 convention. Look at that. So this should be an interesting article here. Mr. Berg was not shy about his opinions and thoughts on things, so it should be an interesting interview. A fix on the future. So some of the stuff that's upcoming. Don't know if they ever got there. Here's a little Sacramento Consortium ad. And then Aide de Camp, which looks like it's a computer game here. And there you have it. That is Game Fix Issue 7, May 1995, with the big one on here. So be interested to see how this plays out. I like strategic level games, especially strategic level World War II. There's not a lot that do the entire war. There's a few out there. They're pretty well liked and relatively big. But a lot of times they split in between Europe and Pacific, and this is just a Europe one. So interested in getting into that. Not a huge counter density. The rules didn't look that complex, and the board is just 2 pages. So there you have it. That is Game Fix number 7. Thanks for stopping by. Love to know your thoughts on this game or on any of the other Game Fix. As I said, I'll put a link to them in the description. So if you're scoring at home, you can make sure your scorecards are up to date. Anyway, thanks all. Take care. Thanks for watching.